Okay, so you can see that I've turned my slab vase on its rim now, and I've removed the sponge from the inside. The other thing I've done is I've bowed the other surface out, so both the front and the back have now got a slight curve to them, just a little bit. And that'll make sense now why I cut that shape out for the base with a slight curve on it, and a bit wider in the middle, narrow at the outside, so that I can sort of ease the front and back out and get a nice curve to it, not too much. And hopefully you can see I've started to kind of prepare the base of the slab pot to then put a slab over the top. So I've done my scoring and a bit of slip, and then I've put a coil just below on the inside, in preparation for joining the slab later. And then I'm going to just put a bit more slip in here, so as I said, so I don't get any kind of air pockets when I'm joining the next slab for the base of this pot. So it's a bit of a process, does take a while. The other thing I had to do was, with the piece that's going on the base here, I actually had to cut it down to size, so it's probably a good idea to just check your sizing before you start all of this work. So like that. So as I said, with this piece that is going to go across the base, I've kept it nice and soft so that it's flexible. You don't let this piece dry out. I've beveled the edges. You just got to freewheel your way with beveling, and which, you know, just take your time. And then I've scored it, and now I'm going to position it on the base, kind of holding my breath, lining it all up. So making sure that it's a good fit before I really start to kind of put some pressure and really work that join together. And what it will do is it will push down on that coil and give me a really good join that I'll be able to smooth out on when I flip this over again on the inside. So I'm just working my way all the way around and making sure that I've got good connection. Also keeping my eye on the shape of the pot too, you know. I want this to be just that nice curve. This is where my base is going to be, so I'm just making sure that I've got all the angles right. And then, as I said before, you just pinch off all of the angles, all of the corners. Run your fingers down there. You might have a few gaps, just fill them up with a bit of slip. And across there, you know, really good pressure, make a good connection. Try not and muck up your texture too much when you're doing the joining. And I'd kind of leave it like that for a little while. You know, maybe just drape some plastic over it and just let this sort of settle. But just for the sake of the exercise, I'd want to kind of eventually kind of flip it over, and I want to just check that it's kind of level that way, you know, nice and upright, that I've done my joins really well, that it's sitting straight also from that angle as well. If it's not, just a little bit of leaning, gentle sort of wiggling, pushing down one side or the other, not too much, and eventually you'll get it sitting nice and stable. Then the other thing I'll do then is I'll get a wooden modelling tool and I'll push this coil on the inside into that join and really make sure that that inside coil is nice and smooth and really well joined on the inside and hopefully, you know, that slip's kind of oozed up a little bit too, which kind of makes it a bit easier to get that join. And then I'll probably finish it just with a wet paintbrush going in and out. Or if you've got really nice thin hands, you could probably get in there with a sponge and just clean it up and even it out there. Then, you know, you just kind of need to kind of spend some time sort of just cleaning the pot up, you know. And it does take time, but it's worth it. The time you put into finishing it off means that you're going to end up with a really nice pot. So just working with a bit of a sponge around the rims, making sure there's no cracks in the joins, and that and then once you feel like you've finished and you've kind of cleaned it up, then I'd actually cover it with plastic, because you do want these to dry out nice and slowly. If you've kind of finished your piece, you could think about